Trigger warning. The following contains scenes of playful hostility, unfiltered humor, and outrageously strong opinions about ridiculously unimportant things. Some episodes contain depictions of day drinking, unhealthy competition, and acts of petty revenge. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Board Game Channel. I'm Tim.
I'm Steven, and this is Gunsen, the battle for Toshi Ranbo. This is a new 2 to 6 player game by Ben Rossett and Matthew O'Malley, same guys who made Fromage. And this is billed as a area control dudes on a map game that you can play in an hour. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to show you how it plays. We're going to find out if that claim is true, and then we're going to come back and tell you what we think about it.
Hey. Good to see you. Come on in, let's go. Yeah! Let's go! All right, okay. Return to the Mac. Get up what it is, what it does, what it is, what it isn't. Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit me get up.
Okay, so we have this set up right now for a 3-player game, but for the time being, we're just going to show you the main game board and 1-player station, because this one does take up a lot of room on the table. The rulebook's going to walk you through the setup. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but you are going to want to note that every player has a number of key components. You have your little fans here to mark achievements on the achievement track. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. You've got your warriors that can be placed out onto the board. You're going to start the game with a certain number of those here in your home fort. You have several kinds of cards, and the game gives you some really nice little boxes you can use to organize each player's components. You're going to have some building cards that you can place face down here at the base of your board, and there's some buildings that accompany these. When these get built, these buildings will go onto the board. You have your own tactics cards, and you're also going to receive 2 neutral tactics cards at the beginning of the game. Each clan has its own 3 heroes that you're going to want to set up to the side here. You can bring these into play throughout the game. You have some goal cards, and you have some special order cards that you're going to also want to leave close to your board. You're going to receive a certain number of starting resources depending on where you're at in turn order. And the game's going to begin once you have everything set up. Now on your turn, gameplay is pretty simple. You're going to proceed through your turn in 5 steps, and the first of those steps is going to be choosing one of these order cards from the game board. If you choose an order card that has costs shown at the bottom, you're going to need to pay those costs in order to take that card. But once you've taken the card, you're going to have a simple choice to make. You can do one of 2 things with this card. On 3 occasions throughout the game, or up to 3 occasions, you can take this card, place it face down, pay the cost in influence tokens, and you can take a noble action. These actions are listed on the bottom of the game board, and they'll make a little more sense once you see how the game plays. But know that you can take these 3 times throughout the game, 1 per action, and once you've taken all 3 of them, you receive an achievement for completing all 3 noble actions. But more often than not, you're going to take this card and add it to the corresponding column on your individual player board. You're going to slide it under the column so just the resource benefit is showing. And once you place a card in a column, every time you place a card in that column, you will activate the entire column from top to bottom. So in this case, I would get to recruit 2 warriors for the card I just took. I would get to recruit another warrior as I activated that column. These warriors could be placed onto areas that I control on the map. And then I'm given a free movement in all 3 of the first columns. The first column is going to build your armory. This one's going to recruit troops, and this one's going to increase your influence. All 3 of these columns give you a free movement, but then you can also pay for an unlimited number of movements as long as you can pay for each one. So in this case, I have 2 influence. I could pay those 2 influence to move twice if I wanted to, or I could pay 1 to move once, or I could skip this altogether. In this case, though, I do get a free movement, so I'm going to move some of my troops out into an open area and start expanding my presence on the map a little bit. Once I've done that, if I have moved into a territory where other troops are present, so if I paid my 1 influence to move a second time, and I moved into a territory where other troops were present, my movement would stop immediately and then would go to the 4th phase of my turn, which would be a battle. If there is no battle to be done because you didn't move into a territory with other troops, then you'll skip the battle phase. And we'll talk in a little bit about how the battle phase resolves. And then the last thing you're going to do is end your turn by replacing the cards that have been taken from the order deck. If any player at this point has less than 3 warriors on the board, they're going to go ahead and add warriors to their fort. These are the base forts for each player. You would add warriors to there until you had 3 total on the board. And then you would take any tokens that you have achieved on the board to end your turn. None of that mattered right now, so we'll just say that this would be the end of the turn. Now again, the blue cards are going to strengthen you for battle. The yellow cards, gold cards, these are going to increase your troop count on the board. The purple cards will increase your influence. This is really important for buying certain things throughout the game. And then the last column is going to be your development column or your expansion column. This is going to help to grow your clan. You can do a couple of things here. If I were to take this brown card on a later turn, I would slide it under my expansion column, and then I would activate that column from top to bottom. I would gain 2 wood. Then I would gain a wood or a coin. I get to choose. I'll take a coin in this instance. And then I could use wood to construct my buildings if I wanted. I can do one or both of them. These are clan-specific buildings. I would pay the number of wood shown to construct that building. In this case, that would be 3 to construct my stable. So I would pay my 3 wood. And then I could place my stable out onto the board. I can place it in any location that's adjacent to where my troops are or to where my fort is. This is now a place that I can recruit troops to on a future turn. And if I take the recruit action on a future turn, I can recruit troops to the building that I control. And you're going to go on, turn by turn, filling out your engine, essentially. The game, you could call it a tableau or you could call it an engine, but it really does have an engine building component because every time you add a new card to that column, you're going to activate the entire column. The columns are going to get stronger and stronger over time. So those are the main actions you can take on your turn. Let's talk about a couple other key things so that you have a good sense of how the game plays. You're going to notice on the main board that there are a couple different kinds of locations. There are several hexes with these little village tokens on them. These are villages, and the first person to arrive in those villages is said to control them. They take this token, they flip it over, and gain the resource shown on the back. In this case, that would be allowing me to recruit a troop. So I would recruit that troop to the board, and then I take this village token and I place it here. Once I have 3 of those village tokens in place, I've accomplished an achievement. I would take one of my markers, I would place it on the board where it showed 3 village tokens. And this is going to be really important for ending the game. We'll come back and talk about that in just a little bit. You're also going to see some watchtowers on the board. If you begin or end a movement in a watchtower, before your next movement, you can pay 1 of your influence to move from that watchtower to another. This just gives you a way to move quickly and efficiently around the board. And then the last group you're going to see are these shrines. The shrines, which look like this on the bottom and look like this on the tile, they'll all start with an upgrade tile on top of them that corresponds with their function. If I were to control this shrine by moving troops into it, I would gain this upgrade token, and it would upgrade the engine for my recruit action. Now, bear in mind that this token can be stolen later if another army moves into that shrine and defeats me in battle. In that case, this upgrade token would come off of my engine, and it would go onto their card. Lastly, we have Toshi Ranbo, the main citadel, the central citadel of the battlefield. In order to control Toshi Ranbo, you have to move in. The first person to move in must do so with a strength of 5. Right now, none of these armies on the board have a strength of 5, so none of them could move into the main citadel. But once someone does, They would claim this upgrade tile for their expansion column. They would flip Toshi Ranbo over, and they would place an achievement marker both in the citadel and on the achievement track. The achievement track shows that you have controlled Toshi Ranbo at least once, and this is a permanent achievement. However, the temporary achievement of holding the city can be stolen if another army moves into the city and takes that from you. In that case, your token would come off, you would lose that achievement, and they would gain it. Lastly, we need to talk about this achievement board here, because this is the heart of the game. This is not a game that has an end game process that gets triggered at any point in time. This game will end immediately when any one player has achieved 7 of the core achievements. So let's talk about what they are. You can score an achievement for winning a battle as the attacker. In other words, if I move into this territory, we will resolve a battle, which we'll talk about. And if I win that battle, drive my opponent out, and still have troops left there at the end, then I have won that battle as the attacker, and I would gain that achievement. You'll notice on the achievement track, I can gain that twice in a game. So you can score 2 of your 7 required achievements by winning battles as the attacker. You can score achievements, as we noted, for filling your village board over here. That means that you have gained control over 3 villages. You would take the resources, place those there, and once you've done that 3 times, you gain the achievement. You can gain an achievement for entering Toshi Ranbo and controlling that territory. And as we noted, there's also an achievement to be had if you continue to control that, but that one is stealable. You gain an achievement for controlling 2 shrines at once. So if I were able to move my other army that had transported into this shrine, I would control 2 shrines, and I could claim an achievement for doing so. You can claim an achievement for taking all 3 noble actions throughout the course of the game. You can claim an achievement if you have built both of your clan's special buildings. Right now I've only constructed one of those, so I don't gain that achievement. And then I can also gain an achievement for filling all 3 tactics slots on my player board. As I noted at the beginning, you have some clan-specific tactics cards, and you'll be given 2 neutral ones at the beginning of the game. So you'll start with 4. The most you can ever play is 3, but if you do play 3 of them, you get to mark off that achievement. And how do you play tactics cards? You do it when you're activating the expansion column. After you decide whether or not to pay wood to construct your buildings, you can decide whether or not to play coins to increase your tactics. And then lastly, you have individual goal cards. Each clan has 3 unique goals. So in a sense, each clan has 3 different hidden strategies that they might be pursuing throughout the game. And if you achieve one of these goals, you'll go ahead and mark off an achievement. For instance, this one here says that I need to control 3 territories adjacent to or including an enemy building or fort. So here the red team has a building up. If I manage to control 3 territories adjacent to or including this one, then I would go ahead and mark this goal as accomplished. And then lastly, as we noted, there's the goal or the achievement for holding Toshi Ranbo, the central citadel. If you're holding that at any given time, your achievement marker will be in place there, but that one can be stolen. So there are a total of 11 different achievements that can be scored, 10 on the bottom track and 1 in the center of the board. And the first player to achieve all 7 of those wins the game. Lastly, we do want to talk about how battles are resolved, because we have a special battle board over here that's going to be used anytime a conflict occurs from 2 players entering the same space. And when that happens, we're going to calculate player strength. That's the cross sword symbol, and you'll see that there are a lot of cards in the blue armory column that can increase your strength. You also gain 1 strength for each battle or each warrior you have in the space. You're going to then roll the dice, and the number of dice you roll will be determined again by the icons in your armory column, and the number of those rolled dice you get to keep will be determined as well. There are some symbols that allow you to re-roll an individual dice if you don't get what you want. Lastly, you're going to see these blood and armor symbols that will appear in the armory column. So each player involved in the battle, and there will only ever be 2 players involved in a battle at a time, each player is going to place their markers on the battle board based on the number of strength, blood symbols, and armor symbols they have. Whoever has the highest strength will win the battle. But each blood symbol kills an opposing soldier, and each armor symbol that opposing soldier has stops one of those kills. It's important to know that these kills and blocks don't affect the strength of the battle. You can win a battle, but still have all of your soldiers there die. In which case, if you're the attacker, you would not gain the attacker achievement. We're not going to go any further than that in terms of the rules, because this is more about a review to find out if this game is right for you. There are some really great teach videos out there on the internet. For this game, we would recommend a video by Becca Scott at Good Time Society. If you want to see a full walkthrough of how to set up and play the game, just search How to Play Gunsen and choose the result for Good Time Society on YouTube. That'll give you a nice overview of how to play the game. It's still going to be good, though, to keep a copy of the rulebook handy, because there will be some edge cases and some symbols that you might still need to get used to in your first few plays. That being said, that's Gunsen, the battle for Toshi Ranbo. Let's go back to the table and talk about our thoughts, our experience playing this, and whether this game is for you. All right, Tim. So let me start by saying 2 things, and then I'm going to kick it over to you for some thoughts. First of all, I would say that everything about this game, from the production, the components, the storage, and the gameplay, very, very thoughtfully designed, for sure. And it's billed as a game that can be played in an hour, roughly. And for our plays with 3 and 4 players, that was true. Yeah. We played our first game with 3 in about an hour and 15 minutes. Once we got the flow, we were down to about an hour, even with 4. But the big question for everyone here is this game for you? How does it feel to play? And who's going to be interested in this one? So let's get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So for me, this was pretty unique, especially with just some of how you can build the engine. To me, was probably the most unique for a game like this. Which I absolutely love. I know the first game was 3 of us. We just learned how to play it, and I was leading by quite a large margin. And then all of a sudden, on one turn, Steven was able to put a combination together that led him to victory. The reason I say that, there are a lot of different ways that you can meet your achievements of getting 7 out. And he was able to put 5 of them out? 4 of them in one turn. And to me, that is one of the most unique aspects of this game, because if you don't like area control, and a lot of people don't, they don't like dudes on a map, area control, they don't like the constant conflict and battling, you could win this game without a single battle or without attacking a single person.
So there are 10 achievements on the achievement track on the bottom. 2 of them are attacking.
Yep.
And the other 8 are other aspects of the game. Yep. So you absolutely could. There are 7 clans, to be clear. They are unique, and I mean, your gameplay is the same, but your clan's strategic goals are a little asymmetrical. Your buildings are a little asymmetrical. Your heroes may be a little asymmetrical. So there's definitely some variation there. I would definitely say play with all of the different.
Yeah.
So here's my take on this. Let me say this up front. I really enjoyed the gameplay of this. Everything I was doing, I had fun doing, I enjoyed it. And as you said, I loved building that engine up and basing my movement and my battle strength and all of that off of my engine. I felt like this fell a little in between, I'll give you 2 extremes, but a game like Radlands, which is come out gunning, because if you try to build an engine, you're going to be dead before it happens. Yeah. And then like something huge like War for Arrakis, which is just plan, and then in the last hour execute. Yeah. I felt like this fell in between, and for a lot of people, that's going to be a major plus. You absolutely can play this in an hour. You can run it back a second time in one sitting. For me, I personally would have actually preferred this run about 90 minutes because I wanted to build up more. I started seeing like all of those achievement markers go out on the board, and I said, oh, gee, I'm having so much fun building my engine and preparing my plan. I got to move or I'm going to lose. And so I did at times feel a little rushed. But in terms of the actual gameplay, building those engines up, the way you can move about the board, engage in battle, or kind of try to sidestep it and gather things that will help you get achievements along the way, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
I think if you didn't rush it, we would have another 90 to 120 minute game.
And I personally would be fine with that.
Yeah.
But I absolutely understand the niche this fills to be able to give you this big of an area control game that plays quickly. And I think the reason it plays quickly is because as you do the normal turn-by-turn actions, some of those achievements become inevitable, right? So it's just like it's a race to 7 achievements, and some of them are just going to naturally happen over time by taking your turns. At a certain point, you're going to get your noble actions taken. You're going to get your tactics cards played. You're going to move through enough villages to fill those spots. And so I think that helps to move the pace along. Who's this for?
I mean, honestly, this, if you like area control games, this is definitely for you. We'll call it a more streamlined area control game with the hook of building that engine. I think if you teeter-tottered on area control, you like certain aspects of it, I think this game could definitely be for you.
Yeah. If you have avoided area control because it's too long and too combat heavy, this could be an avenue for you to enjoy what is in part, I don't want to say a Euro style game, but has elements of a Euro style game with that area control and combat. But I think this is an opening for you if you've avoided Ankh and Blood Rage and War for Arrakis and games like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's not gonna love this?
You know, that's difficult because there's something to enjoy, I think, for most people in this game. There's a little something for it.
I agree.
I don't know if there's one group of individuals that I would say would not like this game, other than, hey, if you're a new gamer or just like lightweight games. But anything beyond that, you can find something in this game that you really love. I'm not familiar with the theme, or this is an IP from
the Legend of the Five Rings.
Legend of the Five
series,
Rings. I'm not familiar with that, but that made zero impact on my enjoyment of this game.
Agree.
And we tried it we played it multiple times with different strategies because we wanted to understand how to play the game. Like, do you focus more heavily on the engine first? Do you focus more on getting your troops out and attacking? And I found it to be, every game was unique. There wasn't one particular strategy that was dominating. Now, we haven't played this dozens of times yet, but, to me, that, it kind of hits on that sweet spot. If you don't have 2 hours to play a game and want to get something quick to the table with a little more meat on it during a weeknight, like, this is a perfect game for that.
The one group I'll say, this is kind of tongue in cheek almost, but the one group of people I will say who won't like this is people who love AP. And there are players who love games that naturally lend themselves toward long, drawn-out turns, long, drawn-out gameplay. They sit down to play a game that they want, like War for Arrakis the first time was 3 or 4 hours. There are people who love that. That's what they want. They want that to be their afternoon playing that one game, and they want to feel that sense of building and building and building and then finally executing kind of later on. They will maybe not like how rushed this feels. But what I would say to those players, and I respect those players, there's days where I'm in the mood for that. Your friends who won't do that with you might very well do this with you, and it'll give you a little bit of the same thing. So this is, and this wasn't on my radar. We went to Boardwalk game store here in South Carolina, and they said, we're getting some new stuff, and they're like, check this out. I said, I've never even heard of this. And they talked it up, and so we gave it a play, and it ended up being a strong thumbs up from me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'll definitely give it a thumbs up as well. So highly recommend checking it out if this game's for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we are temporarily in the game room, if you haven't noticed, because we're 2 weeks into the channel and decided we already need to grow to a bigger studio, which is good news for us in the long term. But for the time being, just a few small videos in the game room. But if you like getting this content, please click like and subscribe. Help us to make more of it. And we'll be back with some more reviews soon.
Yeah, check us out on Facebook, too.
Absolutely.
All right, till next time.
Yep.